From Goa, on a moonless night in the monsoon of 1534, a group of Saraswat Brahmins gathered inside the temple. Long before the Portuguese arrived on the Konkan coast, before the churches of Old Goa rose above the palm groves, there stood on the banks of the Zuari River a prosperous Hindu port city called Gopkapatna. The people of Gopkapatna were traders, fishermen, and farmers. They worshipped Shiva. Their greatest temple stood at a place called Narve, on a hill above the river, and inside that temple lived a black stone lingam of extraordinary sanctity. The devotees called him Saptakoteshwar, Lord of the 7 crores. The name, the elders said, referred either to 7 crores of devotees who had once gathered there, or to 7 crores of blessings the god had granted the city. Nobody could say for certain which meaning was older. Both were believed. Under the protection of Saptakoteshwar, Gopkapatna flourished. Ships from Gujarat and the Deccan anchored in the Zuari estuary. Spices, salt, and rice moved through its markets. The Brahmins of the Saraswat community, who had migrated to the Konkan centuries earlier fleeing persecution elsewhere, made this city their spiritual center. Every year, during the month of Shravan, thousands walked the forest paths to Narve to pour water over the lingam and to fast through the night. The king of the local dynasty, whose name tradition remembers as Shivaji of Goa, not to be confused with the later Maratha king, patronized the temple generously. Gold lamps burned before the idol. Musicians played at evening aarti. The god, people said, had made the soil fertile and the sea generous. Life in Gopkapatna was, by the standards of medieval India, almost peaceful. In the early 16th century, Portuguese caravels appeared on the Konkan horizon. They came first as traders. Then they came as conquerors. The Hindu kingdoms of Goa, the Adil Shahi gunners, the local chieftains, the Saraswat landlords, fought them and lost, fought them again and lost again. By 1510, the Portuguese controlled the coast. They brought missionaries. They brought the Inquisition. They brought a law that said, Hindu temples must be destroyed, Hindu idols must be broken, Hindu worship must end. The soldiers marched inland. They reached Gopkapatna. They reached Narve. They climbed the hill to the temple of Saptakoteshwar. The priests saw the armor glinting in the afternoon sun. They knew what would happen next. Temples had already been raised in other villages. Idols had been thrown into rivers. The same fate was coming for their god. On a moonless night in the monsoon of 1534, a group of Saraswat Brahmins gathered inside the temple. They were led by a man named Narayan Shenvi, whose family had served Saptakoteshwar for generations. They wrapped the lingam in white silk. They placed it in a wooden palanquin. They did not ring bells. They did not chant aloud. They carried the god down the hill by a goat path that the Portuguese patrols did not know. They crossed the Zuari in a fisherman's canoe. They walked east through betelnut plantations and laterite quarries, moving only in darkness, resting only in the homes of families who would not betray them. The Portuguese, when they arrived at dawn, found an empty temple. They burned it anyway. They built a chapel on the ruins. But the god was already gone. For 7 years, the idol of Saptakoteshwar was hidden. First it rested in a private shrine in the village of Mashem, in a Brahman household where only the women of the family knew its location. Then, as informers grew bolder and rewards for discovery increased, the devotees moved it again, to a cowshed in the village of Latimbarsam. They buried the lingam under the floor where cattle stood. The cows walked above their god every day. The devotees told no one outside the trusted circle. They continued to worship in secret, a lamp lit at midnight, or whispered Om Namah Shivaya, a handful of bilwa leaves placed on the hidden stone. Portuguese officials searched barns and homes. They found nothing. The Saraswats, meanwhile, began to say among themselves that Saptakoteshwar had not been stolen. He had chosen to flee. A god who could not be protected by walls, they said, would protect himself. In the late 17th century, the power of the Portuguese in Goa began to weaken at its edges. The Maratha king Shivaji, the great Shivaji of Maharashtra, not the medieval Goan king, raided Portuguese territory and demanded that Hindu worship be tolerated in the villages he controlled. After his death, his grandson Shahu continued the policy. In 1718, with Maratha protection secured, the Saraswat community brought Saptakoteshwar out of hiding. They built a new temple at a village called Murdol, inland from the old Narve site, surrounded by areca palms and red earth fields. The lingam was installed with full Vedic rites. For the first time in nearly 2 centuries, conch shells blew openly at dawn. The story of the god's flight was told from the temple steps to every pilgrim who arrived. It became, in Konkani households, a parable about survival. Today, the temple of Saptakoteshwar at Murdol is one of the most important Shaiva shrines in Goa. Every year, during the festival of Mahashivratri and again during the Goan Hindu month of Kartik, a wooden chariot carrying the Utsava Murti, a festival image of the god, is pulled through the village streets by hundreds of devotees. The chariot is heavy. The ropes cut into shoulders. The crowd chants Jai Saptakoteshwar in Konkani and Sanskrit. Old women throw rice and flowers. Children run alongside. The procession passes houses where, 3 centuries ago, families had hidden fugitive priests in their kitchens. The festival is joyful. But the elders who stand at the temple door remember the older story. They tell visitors, our god once lived by the Zuari. He was driven out. He was buried under cows. He came back. Remember that when you think Goa is only beaches and churches. Remember that something older is still here. The ruins of the original Narve temple can still be visited. A small chapel stands where the Garbhagriha once was. Hindu pilgrims sometimes light a lamp at the old site before walking to Murdol. The Saraswat Brahmins, now spread across Goa, Karnataka, and Maharashtra, still regard Saptakoteshwar as a Kuldevta, a family deity, for entire clans. When a Saraswat wedding is performed, the invitation often carries a line asking the god's blessing. When a son leaves Goa for work in the Gulf or in Mumbai, his mother tells him, Saptakoteshwar watched over us when we had nothing. He will watch over you. The story of the idol's flight is not taught in Portuguese colonial histories. It survives in Konkani, in temple record books, in the memories of families who know which ancestor carried the palanquin on which night. It is, in the truest sense, a Goan folktale, a story about a god who refused to be erased. Tomorrow's story comes from another corner of India. Subscribe to walk with us through the folklore of every region, in your language.